Okay, good morning, everybody. Sorry about that. Something weird happening there in that my Streamlabs, when it updated, shut all my microphones off. So hopefully you can hear me now. I'm sure you can. Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Was watching for that tweet, almost missed. Okay, so we're good, right? Anyway, it's Tuesday. There's some stuff that I got to talk about that's new and exciting and all that stuff. So anyway, just play the intro.
Ladies and gentlemen, coming to you live from the Lucky Dog studio in a hidden location somewhere in the upper Midwest of the United States of America, it's a brother making his own way, but with all the wrong opinions. Welcome to the Morning Night Live with your host, yours truly, PDawgKnight.
All right, stop the music. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Night Live. I am your host, Marty, also known as PDawgKnight on the internet, and welcome back to the PDawgKnight Channel, where things don't always go as they seem. I knew there wasn't any music for the countdown intro because I had to use a different one today because I didn't want to put a 20-minute countdown when I only had 10 minutes left before the show. So I changed that, but somehow it changed my whole microphone setup, which is really, really unusual, but is what it is. So that's what we're going to do. There is a bunch of a couple headlines here and there, and then I want to talk about this whole thing that the White House is doing when it comes to, well, social media. It's pretty incredible what the White House has been admitting to over the last several days, and it's a little bit on the frightening side because they can claim that they're not doing it, and yet they're clearly doing it. And it's they're always talking about we're trying to destroy democracy, what the so-called insurrectionists were doing. And they're just out here doing some shit that's really so against the spirit of the United States Constitution, the First Amendment, that I'm dumbfounded by the whole nonsense. So anyway, we'll get into that. I got a couple headlines to get to first, but even before that, I'm going to say good morning to the people because the people are here and the people are free for now. First in the chat today is Gunfox61 who gets the bell, sort of. And thank you for being here and thank you for keeping the Discord server straight. As opposed to gay, I guess. I don't know, whatever that meant. Also, good morning, Mike Savage, Blarg. Also, hello, Renee Mayette, Jonathan Peterson, Lurking Gopher, my favorite Canadian Jaeger ponies in the house. Tyler F is here. Somebody is here. Also, good morning, Attack Alpaca, People's Front of Canada, Somnambule Nation, and Lord Stanhope's in the house. Tyler F, Nobody Not Me, Jonathan Peterson, you're a ridiculous lunatic. No, not you, Jonathan Peterson. You're a ridiculous lunatic is a whole different person. Also, good morning to who am I missing here? Did I get everybody? Is that kind of it for now until more people? Oh, Willett Forge is in the house. Nice to see you, sir. Advocatus Diabli, the Devil's Advocate. Duck Dog is here. Hello. James PFP, Asian Research Directorate, and that could be, and the one who is in the hizzo. All right, so let's just get caught up on some things that I found interesting this morning. Now, it seems like the biggest news, according to Twitter, because it seems tons of people are talking about it or bitching about it, so to speak, is I didn't hit the send button, did I? Here, we'll send that one. So the tweet's out. If you want to retweet or any of those social media, I'm at PDawgKnight on just about everything. It's really up there. I don't know what I was doing, and I always put the notifications out on Twitter, Minds, Gab, Parlor, Cloud Hub, Getter. I'm on all of them. I use them as notification machines, or just subscribe and click the bell, which most of you are already here, have already done, obviously, because you're here, right? And also, while you're thinking about it, hit the like button during the show before you go. I know some people got to come in, they come in and out. The average watch time on these are about 35, 40 minutes, meaning you're not watching the whole show. But if you have to come and go, that's cool. Just hit the like button before you go, share the stream, and you can always sponsor the show with donations through the things in the description down below. By the way, new outro. I updated the outro. New flowers are bloomed, and I also updated the top donors for June and all the donors. I've added a couple things to the outro just to say thank you to the donors of the show. I appreciate everyone who does that when you can. If you can. If you can't, don't worry about it. Participate in the chat, share the stream. That all kind of stuff makes me happy too. So, but I do appreciate everyone who does that. All right. Let's get into some things. The biggest news right now, if you go onto Twitter, is Jeff Bezos has launched himself into space, which, I know some people say, hey, we hope he doesn't come back. But no, Jeff Bezos, is he the world's wealthiest man? I don't know, something like that. I accept the cookies on this thing. Has blasted off his space company's first passenger flight. Why is this not fitting on my screen right? Hang on a second. Let me fix this. Good Lord. Let me put this on there. There we go. All right, here we go. So the news this morning, 5 minutes ago, he's blasted off. Jeff Bezos blasted off Tuesday on the first flight of his space travel company with people on board, becoming the second billionaire in just over a week to ride his own rocket. Probably not the first time he's ridden his own rocket because his wife left him. Anyway, the Amazon founder zoomed towards space with a hand-picked group: his younger brother, an 18-year-old from the Netherlands, an 82-year-old aviation pioneer from Texas, the youngest and the oldest ever to hurtle off the planet. Named after America's first astronaut, Alan Shepard, the Blue Origin rocket soared from remote West Texas on the 52nd anniversary of the Apollo 11 moon landing, the date chosen by Bezos for its historical significance. He held fast to it even as Virgin Galactic's Richard Branson pushed up his own flight from New Mexico in the race for space tourist dollar and beat him by just 9 days. Unlike Branson's piloted rocket plane, Bezos' capsule was completely automated and required no official staff on board for the anticipated 10-minute up and down flight. Blue Origin was shooting for an altitude of roughly 66 miles or 106 kilometers, more than 10 miles higher than Branson's ride on July 11th. Passengers were expected to experience about 3 to 4 minutes of weightlessness to float around the spacious capsule and peer out the huge windows. Okay, so then there's other breaking news. I'll leave this now. So it looks like this. I mean, this it looks like a giant penis. But is this the? No, that's the test flight. I'm not going to play that. We'll skip the test flight. Hang on, pause that because I want to show you the actual liftoff. And there's one interesting story on this that I could care less about Bezos, and I want this to be just a complete major success. I'm sure they are pretty soon will be landing apparently. But anyway, now the interesting story of this is in the New York Post. NASA failed this female astronaut. Now Jeff Bezos is taking her to space. This is about Wally Funk. When Wally Funk launches into space aboard Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin, she will be at 82, the oldest astronaut ever. But she was nearly the youngest. The New Mexico native was 22 when she joined the Mercury 13 program, a group of intrepid women who back in 1961 underwent the same training as the Mercury 7, NASA's all-male crew of original astronauts. The women were never allowed to go into space and hardly written about. It was a pioneering program lost in history. Sue Nelson, a UK science writer, broadcaster, and author of the 2019 book, Wally Funk's Race for Space, The Extraordinary Story of a Female Aviation Pioneer, spoke with Funk after her trip plans were made public this week by Bezos. She said, I've waited a lifetime, honey, Nelson told the Post, adding that Funk will be representing Mercury 13 when she heads into space. She told me I am going up for all of them. She knows the significance. The Mercury 13 program lasted a year and was privately funded. It was started by Dr. William Randolph Lovelace, who designed NASA's strenuous examinations. He invited pilot Jerry Cobb to undergo the same test as the males, and she passed. In the next year, another 12 women would successfully complete the training, sometimes besting the men. The general consensus was that it was a physician's curiosity of seeing whether women could do the same, said Nelson. They were subjected to the same physically punishing tests, including swallowing a rubber tube to test stomach acid and having ice water squirted into their ears to induce vertigo, and measuring their recovery time. Nelson said the latter made many physically ill. As part of psychological trials, the aspiring space explorers were isolated and put into a darkened room, which led some to hallucinate. Nelson said Funk lasted 10.5 hours, more than any other person, male or female. In Bezos' announcement, Funk acknowledged her prowess in the battle of the sexes. Back in the 60s, I was the Mercury 13 program, Funk said. They asked me, do you want to be an astronaut? I said yes, and they told me I had done better and completed the work faster than any of the guys. Nelson said that unlike the men who trained together as a group, the females did so in pairs, but Funk did hers solo after the other women assigned to undergo testing with her dropped out on the first day. Now this is her second from left. This is from 1995. The picture of these were the women that were in that program. Some of the women, including Funk, were invited to Pensacola, Florida for further training, which never came to fruition. NASA torpedoed any hopes of the women launching into space, requiring candidates to be graduate of a military jet test pilot program. It was an insurmountable obstacle for the women, considering no military branch allowed female pilots at the time. Mercury 13 then shut down. Cobb tried to restart the program, appearing before the House Committee on Science and Astronautics, hearing on sex discrimination in 1962. There were women on the Mayflower and on the first wagon trains west, working alongside the men to forge new trails and new vistas. We asked that opportunity in the pioneering of space, she said Cobb, to no avail. As a result of the Americans' hesitancy at the time, the Russians got there first with Valentina Tereshkova, said Nelson. It wasn't until 1983 that Sally Ride broke the barrier for American female astronauts. In 1995, New York native Eileen Collins helped Discovery, becoming the first female shuttle pilot, and invited the 13 trailblazers to watch the launch. In recognition of female aviators who came before her, Collins packed a scarf once worn by Amelia Earhart and keepsakes from the Mercury 13 ladies. Nelson said Funk gave Collins her pin from the 99's, the International Organization of Female Pilots. A little part of her went up, said Nelson. All of the women have passed away except Funk, and Jean Nora Jessen, and Nelson is thrilled their story is being told once again. There have always been women figures in space history, whether they've been mathematics or engineers. They were in Life magazine, said Nelson, of the Mercury 13 women. They did get publicity, but their history keeps getting forgotten. So cool. That's a cool story. I mean, that Wally Funk finally gets to go into space. Let's see. So it's Across the Space Cowboys and the Golden Girls. I see. Great success. Yeah, interesting about this is the non-piloted craft. So I think they had to, like I said, they got up long enough to feel weightlessness in the craft, and then apparently coming back down. So now I got to tell you, there are a lot of people bitching about this. So first of all, I just want to show you this launch. Here, hang on, Sarah. We'll put this on the screen here, just so you can get a shot of the. There it is, the Jeff Bezos penis. Let's see. I'm going to make this so. Let's get the countdown from about 3, 2, 1. Okay, here we go. Here's the launch into space. Ignition. They get to watch out those windows. So this is funny. Good morning, by the way, nobody, not me. Good morning, infamous one. Just good morning, Gamer Valine. How are you? Good morning, Jesse Leon. Also, so yeah, so that's it. Taken off into space. Blue Origin, first human flight. They've been testing this thing for quite a while. Pretty exciting for people who never got to, especially for what's her name, Wally Funk, who never got to go in that initial space program. Pretty damn cool stuff, if you ask me.
30,000 feet, Mach 1.
However, they're at Mach 1 right now. All right. Well, we're not going to watch the whole thing because obviously that's a little bit shaky and whatnot. But so there are, however, oh my God, are people bitching about this? There are people that are mad. But here's some of the Twitter chatter that's kind of hilarious. This one says a giant cock rises into the sky in its dildo-shaped rocket. Did you catch that? Well, he spread his logo all over, so never noticed the faint clouding of space capsules burst through the last layer of Earth's exosphere before. It was really clear with Bezos' Origin rocket. Big a waste of money and televised airtime in my lifetime, and I'm no spring chicken. There's a lot of people complaining that Jeff Bezos could be doing better things with his money. One of them, too, I don't know. Here we go. So much more inspiring than Branson's toy. This one, Amazon worker died by suicide at Las Vegas facility. And then this down here showing Jeff Bezos set to launch. It's not a really good juxtaposition of headlines there. Where are the ones? There were a whole bunch on here earlier, just bitching about. Here we go. Let's go on here. Oh, now here's the return. They have returned to Earth. Jeff Bezos and crew returned to Earth after historic suborbital flight. Billionaire Jeff Bezos rocketed into space on the first crew flight of the New Shepard spacecraft built by his company, Blue Origin. Bezos was accompanied by his brother Mark Bezos, 82-year-old pioneer of the space race Wally Funk, and 18-year-old student Oliver Damon of the Netherlands. The launch took place from Bezos' private launch site near Van Horn, and the flight lasted about 10 minutes. Let's see. This is the moment. Okay, we saw the takeoff. I want to see the landing. And then you get articles. Now this is how this is how Twitter curates their kind of news page. So they do have the picture of Wally Funk, okay, that she got to go up. The other part, though, notice the top right thing here, though, Vox's headline or whatever. Jeff Bezos, the richest man in America, pays almost nothing in taxes. This is why. That's the story. How the rich avoid paying taxes, capital gain taxes, whatever. Bezos reaches the edge of space in Blue Origin rocket. There's a whole bunch of headlines. I wanted to see them coming back to Earth, though, and see how that happened. How that went. But anyway, in general, good journalistic practice is to be clinical and wordy. Incorrect. Jeff Bezos took off in a Dawg rocket. Correct. Rocket that was much like a piece of male genitalia in appearance, and to be specific, not the testicles. We're talking about the penis here. Anyway, there's a lot of people bitching about, if he'd pay his employees enough and something, I know that Amazon employees in most places start at $15 an hour, and they do have health care benefits and all that stuff that people say they don't have. And but then the people are like, it's $15 now, it's only $600 a week. Okay, then go get an engineering degree and work somewhere else. It's just like people bitching about him. go find the next big thing and be it. Okay? His money doesn't take away from you. And he's providing, I would say, does anyone know how many employees Amazon has? I don't know. Anyway, let's move on to another subject. Something yesterday, and it cracked me up because I saw it several times too. And so this is from Twitchy, which is the kind of the conservative Twitter watchdog, so to speak, or brings up funny things. Reuters yesterday really wanted to make sure that you knew about Representative Ocasio-Cortez's new merchandise. Now, the Washington Post a few days ago reported Florida Governor Ron DeSantis was selling "Don't Fauci My Florida" t-shirts, all while noting new coronavirus cases were near the highest in the nation. We certainly didn't get the impression the Post was trying to advertise the shirts. They did anyway, but the Reagan Battalion noticed Monday that Reuters seemed to think it was breaking news that Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was getting into the merchandise business. They tweeted this breaking news at least 9 times yesterday. So this is these are the tweets. Reuters, here's over and over and over, they were advertising her new merch. AOC is now selling merchandise. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has become one of America's most prominent progressive Democrats with her calls to tax the wealthy and spend heavily to fight climate change. And so her campaign paid a political merchandise firm more than $1.4 million in the first 6 months of 2021, according to the campaign disclosures on Federal Election Commission. That's more than any lawmaker spent on their entire re-election efforts during the period of March 5th. And so now they keep showing her shirts, and they're like, but they kept over and over talking about her merchandise. Her campaign has raised $6.9 million since the November election, compared to $10.8 million by House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. So she's raking in the dough, selling shit. And it's just funny how many times they put it out there. So anyway, Stephen Miller says the 9th tweet today Reuters has published on this. And people are just like, what? Are you kidding me? Do you guys have an affiliate deal with AOC? Branding, the US AOC makes a push to political merchandise. Again, they did it again. And that was their report. She became, okay, we already read that. So anyway, apparently she has responded. Where is it here? There's an update. Where's the update here? Because Twitchy just is laughing about this, and several people are noticing how much they're pushing AOC. Buy my $60 t-shirt, but also eat the rich, man. Yeah, exactly. Good morning, Justin Anderson, by the way. So while she has no formal party leadership role, AOC has star power rarely seen in Congress. She has more than 8 million Instagram followers. She shot a video for Vogue detailing her personal skincare routine. Ooh. Anyway, so let's see. Where's her response here, though? That's what I want to see, because I haven't seen that part. They just must have just updated this. As we said, as we might have missed a tweet or two, but there'll be a new one along in an hour or two. And Chris Cillizza, of course, let me say for the billionth time, reporters don't root for a side, period. Well, Reuters certainly does. Now, where's the update? I'm trying to find it. All these people complaining about, how they're just basically rooting for her to sell more merch, and probably helped her sell a lot. Here's the update. Sean Spicer was among those calling out the Democratic Socialists, but she replied that selling t-shirts isn't capitalism. So here's Sean Spicer branding the U.S. left. AOC makes a push into political merchandise, using capitalism to push socialism. Not sure if you know this, Sean, but transactions aren't capitalism. Capitalism is a system that prioritizes profit at any and all human environmental cost. But for what it's worth, our shop is unionized, doesn't operate for profit, and funds projects like free tutoring, food programs, and local organizing. Oh, she's so special. Good for her. Wealthy socialist AOC passionately defends her decision to allow her poor, ailing Puerto Rican abuela to live in unacceptable conditions. Anyway, so there you go. Well, selling shirt isn't capitalism. Well, I don't know. She had to raise some capital to buy the shirts and sell them. And she's selling for a profit. Now, just because she does something so-called honorable with the profit doesn't mean that she's not profiting. Come on now. Anyway, we find that great humorous. All right, more, let's see, that's the same one. I'll leave that open if you want to see that. Let's get into the main topic of the day. Oh, wait, hold on. This is important before we get into talking about Jen's sake. There's a new eco-friendly vodka. I'm so excited that there is eco-friendly vodka made from captured carbon dioxide, and apparently it has a negative carbon footprint. So all we need to do, it takes an extra pound of CO2 out of the air for each bottle produced. Now, this is a little bit, there's a frightening aspect to this though. I'm just telling you, there is a frightening aspect to the idea that they're making vodka that takes more carbon to make than it does whatever. So here's the thing, and I probably have, oh, no, it has music. It has music, so we'll just, we'll mute it. We're going to mute this. I don't know why I'm so excited about this, but carbon negative vodka. What the hell happened there? There we go. All right, let's make this full screen. I'm going to mute it, though, so we don't have to get a music strike here. Here we go. So, this vodka is made from carbon dioxide captured from the air. So drinking it could actually be good for the planet. There you go. Our goal is to take carbon dioxide, convert it into alcohol in a carbon negative environment. Air Company says that every bottle of its vodka removes 1 pound of CO2 from the air, while the average bottle of spirits produces 15 to 20 pounds of CO2. Hang on. And the drink isn't just eco-friendly. The company says it tastes better too. Oh, does it now? We've entered into countless blind taste competitions. We've won some of the biggest golds here, biggest golds in Europe. Prior to the pandemic, we were in every Michelin star or something. New York sold spirits, whatever. Carbon conversion solutions aren't just in demand on planet Earth. What? With funding from NASA, Air Company is converting CO2 into glucose, a process that could one day make renewable source of fuel, food, and other products on Mars. Oh, our technology can be developed and matured in space and on Mars so that the cost of it can be adoption on Earth or something. So while having a drink might not seem like it'd help our planet, this one could be a valuable first step. Okay, this is CNN. Anyway, so there is an article on it too from CNN here. I'll just leave it in the tabs, like, you know, because, you know, I put all everything we look at, news or links or videos or whatever, are in the description down below. Just below the first paragraph, there'll be a link to get you to all these stories. Now, unfortunately, though, this tab that they give you doesn't take you to where I thought it was going to take you, so we're not going to leave that one open. But anyway, so if you want to help the planet, go drink some vodka. But here's the okay, I have a problem with this though. Okay, think about this. Y'all do realize that trees, right? Trees and plants and green things in our planet need carbon, right? That's what they breathe the carbon dioxide and put out oxygen, and then we breathe in the oxygen and put out carbon dioxide. We have this symbiotic relationship. Animals on the planet have a symbiotic relationship with the plants on the planet. And if, I can just imagine if they start using this process, particularly in some Baltic states where vodka is very, very popular, or not Baltic, or, Russia, that kind of stuff. East Bloc, former East Bloc, and where they drink lots of vodka, right? Could that possibly destroy the planet? Because they drink a lot of damn vodka over there. I just don't, oh boy, oh my gosh, I'm not really sure about this, if this is a good idea. We're messing with a lot of things. And they make it how do they take the carbon out of the atmosphere and make vodka out of it? Anybody? Interesting thought, but anyway. Okay, let's get into the topic of the day, because and I'm going to look at, I got a couple articles from a couple different perspectives, and we'll just kind of go through both of them. But so when Jen Psaki the other day, good morning, Johnny Ghost Bear, how you doing? When Jen Psaki the other day was talking about how the White House is flagging content on Facebook, which the White House deems to be misinformation about the COOF, the stupid 19, right? And they are, and the way she phrased it, because there's several, you can find it all over Twitter and the internet, whatever, what she said specifically. But what she was saying, that the White House is actively flagging content, but they're not demanding that Facebook's take content down. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. And it's just bordering on, what's that word they like to use a lot? Fascism, right? Because, oh, sure, they're only doing this with the stupid 19 information, right? This is they don't tell you what, people should be heard and what things that they don't like to hear. They're not telling Facebook anything like that. And then the White House, she's like, well, the White House doesn't take the information down. If these private companies decide to take this information down or decides to, remove people, well, that's their prerogative. They're private companies. We have no way to do that. Woman, kiss every inch of my ass. I'm sorry. It's embarrassing that how blatantly obvious that there are pushing for people to be removed from social media. And then she also said, good morning, Special Can Acid. She also said that, some of this information is going on platforms that's owned by Facebook, but people shouldn't just be banned from one form of social media. They should be banned from all. Like, she's advocating for people to be banned from social media. Oh, but the White House can't ban them. They just look at the information and tell them what's misinformation, and then the social media companies can do that. This is just bordering on the social credit score bullshit, right? So anyway, I pulled up a couple of articles, one from a very left-wing source. Oh, I missed one of my stories. Well, I'll get back to these other stories later. So I got a story here from Red State. I also got a story written by Caitlin Johnson, who's on the very left, the Red State from the right. And then a little commentary by Ben Stein. He's on the right, but it's kind of an apropos little commentary. So let's go through these real quick here. First, from Red State. This is Red State's obviously more on the right than the left. Psaki digs an even deeper hole for the White House in latest comments on misinformation flagging campaign. Apparently, the Biden White House has no idea the can of worms they'd opened when they made two big announcements last week, one of which was revealing their plans to censor text messages for supposed stupid 19 stab misinformation, and with the other being that they had a team in the Surgeon General's office that was flagging problematic stupid 19 posts for Facebook to review and possibly take action over. Now, it's fascinating to me how she says, to possibly review and take action over, because the Surgeon General can't take that action, can they? Can the, because they're not doing it. They're just telling them what information that's publicly available, because these are public platforms. And we can just, because Peter Ducey, or Steve Ducey, no, what's Steve Ducey's son's name? Peter Ducey? The Ducey guy, the younger one, the son, was saying, well, how long have you been spying on Americans' Facebook pages? And she's like, no, we're not spying. This is publicly available information. Don't say that. Anyway, hello, Sid Nikki. How you doing? And also, Cigar Chomping Penguin. It's scary how often I show up to a stream right as the host says something like, kiss every inch of my ass. Well, congratulations. Your timing is impeccable. All right. So since the time that they made this revelation, by the way, I think I do have, I do have the Surgeon General's pamphlet on this too. Anyway, since that time, they've been peppered with questions about the latter from reporters, including Fox News White House correspondent Peter Ducey, who last Friday cornered Psaki on the Facebook flagging issue by making a larger point about how the science sometimes evolves and that things from last year that were flagged by Facebook as misinformation are now considered plausible and okay to post, like the speculation over the origins of Stupid 19. Is there any concern that the things you are trying to block or have taken down might someday turn out to be accurate? He asked her Friday. And then she defaulted to the, we all have a responsibility to save lives, instead of answering the question. During today's press briefing, Psaki again got questions on the issue from a number of reporters. So more reporters are concerned about this, because remember, anytime a Democratic administration does anything like this, wouldn't that give the next administration that may not be Democrats permission to do something just like it? And then we get this stupid information creep. Think of the Patriot Act and how that monstrosity has been perverted, so to speak. So anyway, so the reporter, will the White House publicly, this is another report now, because it was just Steve Ducey, or sorry, Peter Ducey, the son. It was just Peter Ducey, but now some of the other reporters are asking questions too, because they're like, I'm not so sure about this. Reporter, will the White House publicly release information on posts that it considers misinformation on vaccines that it's asked Facebook to block? Now, this reporter is like hoping they do this. Some of these reporters are asking because they're like, oh yes, we love this idea. We think the White House should take down all the misinformation and yada, yada, yada. Except, remember, the Russia thing was going on. They didn't want that information taken down. Anyway, so Jen's answer. First of all, well, here, let's watch it. This is even better. Let's watch it instead of me read it, because this is incredible to me. This is effing incredible.
Thank you. Will the White House publicly release information on posts that it considers misinformation on vaccines that it's asked Facebook to block?
You know, she's concerned because if she gets this, I'm sorry, I shouldn't go there. Anyway.
First of all, we've not asked Facebook to block any.
Oh no, we're not asking them to block anything. Oh no, we're just telling them so they can make informed decisions about what they do with people who disseminate misinformation In fact, that's her new nickname. Jen Psaki's new name is Misinformation because she has all the information and it's never a miss. Anyway, no, we don't tell them to do anything. We just tell them that there's misinformation on your platform. No pressure here at all. The federal government telling you what's misinformation doesn't mean that they have to do anything about it. We're just there to inform you, to make you better informed. Sorry, what took this too long?
Individual posts. The way this works is that
Oh.
there are trends that are out there on social media platforms. You're aware of them. We're aware of them. Anyone in the public can be aware of them. There's also
yes.
data that we look at that many media platforms, like many of you, also look at data in terms of trends, and you report on it, which is not to be expected given the number of people who get their information from social media.
It's to be expected that we just expected to let you know that you are putting misinformation. You're killing people with misinformation because we can't stand it when you defy the federal government. Anyway, sorry, I went a little devilish there, didn't I?
It's up to social media platforms to determine what their application is of their own rules and regulations.
Oh, it's up to them. It's just the federal government's coming down and telling you that this is information, and it's just up to you what to do with that information. You can decide whether it's not, and then and in fact, we'll make sure that nobody in the media will write any hit pieces about the misinformation that you're allowing on your platform. And we're not, because remember, there's those 12 individuals that are disseminating 65% of all the disinformation. We're not telling you whether or not you should ban those 12 people. We just want to make sure that you know that there's 12 people out there putting information out that probably is killing thousands and thousands of people every single day. But you just decide. Yeah, I'm gonna drink a sip of my coffee here.
And so we just certainly raise where we have concerns about information that's inaccurate, that is traveling out there in whatever platform
and with a
it's
smile.
traveling.
Notice her smile too. She is so happy that she's okay, that's just I kind of need that. Anyway, so she just says it with a smile that, oh my gosh. Anyway, now, like she did Friday with Ducey, Psaki put government officials flagging what they say is publicly available information on Facebook in the same boat as members of the mainstream media who flag social media trends in their reporting. Yes, because, when they write hit pieces about people or certain topics, and then all of a sudden the social media companies start banning them, and in fact they not only ban them, but then they coordinate with other social media companies, and everyone gets banned all at the same time. And then sometimes their credit card companies says, well, we're not going to allow you to have an account here, and then we're not going to you can't raise money through this GoFundMe place or this Get Good something place, and then we're going to make sure that you can't use your phone because you might tell somebody over the phone, or you might text somebody, because now we're making sure that we can monitor your text messages through the big phone companies, but we're not doing it. The phone companies themselves, we're just asking them to monitor things, and you decide what to do with people who might be texting wrong thing. What could go wrong? What can go wrong? Anyway, it's just the same as, they're the same boat as members of the mainstream media who flag social media trends in their reporting. Again, apparently hoping people don't understand there is a difference between the press doing investigative work and reporting an alleged misinformation that was posted on social media versus the federal government trawling the same sites for posts by private citizens and then reporting them with a nudge, nudge, wink, wink to Facebook in order to pressure big tech giants into action. Further, the fallback answer of, we've not asked Facebook to block any individual post, just doesn't cut it. Facebook has been under enormous pressure from Democrats over the last 5 years to drop the hammer on posts they consider misinformation, going back to the 2016 election, except for the Russiagate bullshit. They want that shit out there. And And Facebook has obliged them to a large extent, primarily because their goals are very similar to those of their Democratic masters. Control the flow of information by suppressing conservative voices and amplifying liberal ones. The White House suggesting they are merely alerting Facebook to alleged problematic posts and leaving it up to them to decide what to do about them, to put it charitably, is highly disingenuous. What the Biden administration is doing here is using the full weight of the federal government to bear down on social media companies to act on the reports they get from the flaggers in the Surgeon General's office, in hopes Facebook will take action to censor content posted by private citizens they find objectionable, all under the guise of having the responsibility to save lives. If this is not the Big Brother mindset playing out in real time, I don't know what is. That should scare the hell out of people, Republicans, Democrats, and everyone in between. Now, the problem is some people don't have a lot of foresight, okay? Kind of like, okay, remember way back when, what's that guy's, the Senator, Harry Reid, remember him? Remember Harry Reid? Harry Reid, the senator from Nevada, he's he's the speaker or the Senate Majority Leader at one time, and Harry Reid was saying something a long time back, talking about how they were going to get rid of the filibuster when it comes to the nominating process of cabinet and judges and shit like that. Remember that? And then they said they were gonna take that away, and because for judges you shouldn't be able to filibuster judges. That's wrong. So Harry Reid's like, they started making some rule changes. And Harry Reid's like, oh yes, this is a great idea because we're in power right now, and we can just, if we take this away, we can get these people in a lot faster and whatnot. Because Harry Reid thought that the Democrats were going to have the majority in the Senate forever. However, what happened? Well, Harry Reid and the Democrats did not have the majority forever. And then you get a Mitch McConnell in there, and Mitch McConnell's like, hey, these motherfuckers these motherfuckers took the filibuster away for judges. And, well, when we do the next round of judges, well, we are not going to have a filibuster for judges. So when we put some people in the Supreme Court, now we're not going to let this Merrick Garland guy come in because with this election coming up and both houses held by Republicans and a Democrat president, well, we're not even gonna consider this right now. We're gonna wait until the election, and then when we get some chances at judges, we're gonna use a majority. We're not gonna be able to filibuster these Supreme Court judges, and we got our 3 Supreme Court judges. And Harry Reid's probably kicking himself in his own ass because it was his idea. Hey, you wanted something. You forgot that you're not going to be permanently in power. Well, now, imagine. And I'm not talking about imagine there's no heaven. No, imagine what the Republicans can come up with if this becomes the norm in governments. Because you know what? Joe Biden ain't going to be president forever. And I'm almost certain that there will be another Republican president someday, somehow, some way. And maybe even with the, Republican Senate or House, whatever. And now they're going to come back and say, okay, you guys pressured social media on this BS. Now, well, let's see what we can pressure social media on. Because you know what? In the immortal words of the band Rat, what comes around goes around. I'll tell you why. Round and round. What comes around goes around, bitches. That's why I'm laughing, because they I'm sure, I am positive, that's why Joe Manchin and Kristen Cinema, is it like cinema, like the going to the movie cinema? Is that how you say her name? Those two are looking at the fact that it's 50-50 Senate, right? And they're talking about trying to get rid of the filibuster so they can push through some other bullshit. And Joe and Chris are like, are y'all stupid? You know we're not going to hold the Senate in 2022. There is no way that we're going to hold the Senate in 2020. And if we're saving y'all, because we know that if we vote to get rid of the filibuster, guess what's going to happen in 2 years when the Senate is majority Republicans? We won't have any leverage. See, it's the filibuster. It's a way to slow things down. I don't care that things don't get done in Washington. I think the fewer laws that you pass in Washington, the better off we are. In fact, I think they should spend there should be a requirement that every 4 years, the House and the Senate, they are required to spend 1 year just repealing laws, period. Let's get some of these laws off the books. It's a myriad of nonsense. Anyway, good morning, Galactic North. How you doing? And Jim Beam, what's happening? All right, here we go. Let's look for the left perspective. This is Caitlin Johnson, who is she's mainly an anti-war leftist, because there's anti-war right, there's anti-war left, and she's very progressive. But I wanted to give you a little bit of perspective from another side here, because it's funny that the White House is spending their time trying to stop disinformation, when from this perspective we have an empire made up entirely of disinformation. Now, I don't agree with Caitlin Johnson on a lot of things, but I want to hear this perspective, okay? I want to hear it. The weirdest thing about the Biden administration tasking itself with the censorship of disinformation on social media is that the United States is the hub of a globe-spanning empire that is built upon a foundation of disinformation, maintained by disinformation, and facilitated by disinformation. If the propaganda engine of the U.S. centralized empire ceased actively deceiving the public about the world, it would collapse immediately. There would be mass unrest at home and abroad. Status quo politics would be abandoned. Alliances and coalitions would crumble. Leaders, official and unofficial, would be ousted, and U.S. unipolar hegemony would end. That is some strong words right there. Now, by the way, I don't necessarily agree with all this, but I want you to hear a different perspective. The only thing keeping this from happening is the vast amounts of wealth and energy which are poured into continuously deceiving the people of America and its allies about what's really going on in their nations and political systems, and in the world as a whole, getting people to believing they live in separate sovereign nations which function independently from one another instead of member states within a single undeclared empire which moves as one unit on the international stage. Well, it sounds like she might be. Is she against globalism? Does that sound like, I mean, she's leftist, so I don't know. Getting people to believe they control the fate of their nation via the democratic process, when in reality, all large-scale politics are scripted puppet shows controlled by a plutocratic class who owns both the politicians and the media outlets which report on them. Damn. She's hitting some nails right now. Getting people believing they are part of a virtuous rules-based international order which opposes totalitarian regimes to spread freedom and democracy instead of a tyrannical empire that works to destroy any nation which disobeys its dictates. Above all, manufacturing the illusion that the oppressive, exploitative, imperialist status quo is normal. Okay, she got some of them words in there. It's not the big famous lies like those which preceded the invasion of Iraq that make up the bulk of the adhesive holding the empire together. It's the small, mundane lines we're fed every single day by the plutocratic media, the ones which distort our worldview by half-truths, spins, omissions designed to normalize a status quo of murder, theft, and ecocide. Ugh, she's getting harsh there. This normalization happens in the way pundits and politicians treat any attempt to end wars or redress income inequality as freakish extremism and unrealistic fantasy. Some of it is, but some of it isn't. When in reality, it's the most sane and normal thing in the world, and the only thing unrealistic about it is the fact that attempts to advance those agendas are always sabotaged by those same pundits and politicians. Well, we certainly see that in Afghanistan and Iraq. Why are our people still there? I'm just curious. The normalization also happens in the way endless wars, starvation deaths by U.S. sanctions, and the looming threat of total extinction via climate collapse, she's getting a little out of hand here, or nuclear war, rapidly exacerbating income inequality and increasing tyranny at home and abroad are not treated as newsworthy stories, while celebrity gossip and partisan bickering between AOC and Marjorie Taylor Greene makes headline news. I'm going to give her that point. Every day, the news media fail to report on the greatest horrors that the empire has unleashed on our world while focusing on vapid trivialities. They help normalize the horrors. If the mass media actually existed to share important information about the world, the U.S.-backed genocide in Yemen would be front-page news every day instead of something which gets a marginal mention once every few weeks. Every day, it isn't. This outrageous abuse is normalized. Now, I gotta tell you, I do agree with her here. We spend so much time on the trivial political BS that some stories just never, ever get breached or told. And I gotta tell you, their obsession with the coup, which obviously is a very big story, but their obsession with how they're pushing narratives through the media and through the White House and whatnot, we forget about everything else that's going on in the world. There's so much other things, or even just the focus on the man bite dog things. You know what I'm talking about if you've been here a while. Anyway, if the mass media actually existed to share important information about the world, the fact that the U.S. military just spent trillions of dollars on a decade-long occupation of Afghanistan that accomplished nothing besides making horrible people rich would have been a national scandal. Every day it isn't. This outrageous abuse is normalized. But the mass media does not exist to share important information about the world. They exist to share important disinformation about the world. If they did not do this, the same U.S. empire, which is decrying the spread of disinformation today, would collapse in its own footprint. The U.S. empire is, without exception, the single most corrupt, destructive force on this planet. I would say there's others, but anyway. And it's not even close. It is the very last institution on earth that should be in charge of deciding what online content is true and what is disinformation. That is, but I do agree with that half of it. I'm going to read it again. It's the very last institution on earth that should be in charge of deciding what online content is true and what is disinformation. Yeah, because they don't like her either. The established does not like the populist fringes, okay, and she's part of the populist left, and so anyway, let me finish there. The USM, it is that absolute dead last without exaggeration. So it should be the last institution talking about disinformation. How much disinformation have they put out and then changed their minds about stupid 19? I gotta tell you. Anyway, depraved institutions which lie constantly and have killed millions and displaced tens of millions since the turn of the century should not be the ministry of truth for the world's online communication system. This should be extremely obvious to everyone. So that's her, the kind of the more left end of the spectrum talking about this. And finally, this bit by Ben Stein, which I thought was really good, where he's Ben Stein saying, now if you're familiar with Ben Stein was an actor. He was also he was advisor to President Reagan, I believe, and he used to do commercials. He has this just really droning, emotionless pitch to his voice, kind of like this, and he talks like that. And he's been in a couple of movies. He plays a professor, and it was not Fast Times. He's been in several movies too. He's an actor. Saturday, July 2021, a month that will live in infamy. if there is such a thing as history in the Biden, Orwell, Soros, Omni dictatorship, July 2021 will mark the month that the Constitution, the greatest work ever thrown off by the hand and mind of man, as Gladstone put it, was thrown into the Ministry of Truth memory hole. It was put into the history erase as well, a bottomless pit. In this month, actually starting with the month before that, the superpowers of the tech world, Google, YouTube, Amazon, Twitter, Facebook, and Yahoo, admitted to working with the Biden administration to suppress free speech. For months now, we had known that the tech powers were watching us and suppressing any dissident speech against the current administration. I have seen it up close and personal, but what was argued was that the First Amendment to the Constitution protected us only against Congress and the executive branch suppressing free speech. It did not protect us from private enterprises, even very large private enterprises like Amazon or Google or Facebook, keeping tabs on citizens and shutting them out of the internet sphere if they express views contradicting the views and policies of the Biden-Harris big tech party. Bueller, that's what it was. Yeah, he was in Ferris Bueller Day Off. True. There was one big case involving a large steel company suppressing free speech by its workers, and the Supreme Court ruled that such a big company suppressing free speech on its company properties was indeed a violation of the First Amendment. But that was rare indeed. Now, in the year 2021, the Iron Curtain has come down hard, with big internet tech and the White House now admittingly colluding to identify and suppress dissidents, even completely nonviolent dissidents. We no longer have a constitution. There is just one big corporate government, Ing Sok, superstate running everything. Goodbye, America. The GOP, with 50 senators, does nothing. The state legislatures, by far a majority GOP, and the spineless Supreme Court do nothing. And so goodbye to the greatest experiment in the history of the world. When the Constitutional Congress ended in the late 18th century, as Ben Franklin was walking out, an onlooker said, "What do we have, sir? A republic or a monarchy?" Franklin answered, "A republic, if you can keep it." God help us. Now, is it hyperbole? Maybe. Is that hyperbole? Because it's interesting. I want to look at that case. In fact, the steel company case. I'm going to open a link to that. Let's see. What was that? Business corporations and stockholders' rights under the First Amendment. He linked this piece. I haven't read it. It's about 60 some pages long. So I from the Yale Law Journal, though, talking about that case of the steel company where they said, you cannot suppress the workers' free speech. I'm gonna go look at that. I'm wondering is there case law that could do something about this little tech oligarchy that's happening in our world. How these like-minded companies that are like-minded with the White House, how they suppress things. I don't know. It's getting frightening. Now, here's the manual, by the way. I'm going to put this out on the links too. This is the U.S. Surgeon General, the new Surgeon General, confronting health misinformation. Now, listen to this. The U.S. Surgeon General's advisory on building a healthy information environment. Vivek H. Murdy. I'm urging all Americans to help slow the spread of health misinformation during this stupid 19 pandemic and beyond. And beyond. And beyond. Health misinformation is a serious threat to public health. Now, wait a minute. Didn't these people put out a bunch of health this misinformation during the pandemic, I could have sworn because they've been changed their minds an awful lot on certain things. It can cause confusion, sow mistrust, harm people's health, and undermine public health efforts and make the White House look like idiots. Limiting the spread of health misinformation is a moral and civic imperative that will require a whole of society effort. This is a government pamphlet. It's a moral and civic imperative. There's a whole section though on what journalists and media can do and what technology platforms can do. I'm gonna peruse this later and see if there's what I want to take out, but it's just scary. All right, let's go back to just some let's go back to a few other items that are on the list today. That I haven't read completely, but I want to touch base on it and see what it really is. Anyway, let's start with this though. Ben & Jerry's, the ice cream company. Y'all familiar with Ben & Jerry's? You probably had a pint of Chunky Monkey at one time, or what is that? What? All right, real quick in the chat. If you're familiar with Ben & Jerry's and if you have a favorite flavor, throw it out in the chat. What's your favorite flavor of Ben & Jerry's? Ben & Jerry's ice cream. It's an ice cream company, if you weren't sure. By the way, just take this moment to remind you that the Morning Night Live is brought to you by you, the viewers of the Morning Night Live. Please share the stream and hit the like button. There's 48 people here, 31 likes if you haven't done that already. Also, if you would like to be a sponsor of the show, you can do that through Streamlabs donations at PDawgKnight.live, or you can go to hit the YouTube SuperChats down there, and there's we also do Venmo and Cashapp. Just appreciate that. It always validates me when money gets thrown my way. I appreciate it. Also, so here we go. We're getting some favorite flavors. Cherries Garcia, yeah, that's pretty good. Cookie dough, they have a good cookie dough ice cream. F those commies. I didn't know they had that flavor. That sounds good to me. Never had Ben & Jerry's. Don't eat ice cream. Okay. Half baked. Okay. Fish food, as in fish the band, not as in fish. Ben & Jerry's are more pretentious than Haagen-Dazs. That's true. Haven't eaten ice cream in 10 years. I actually had some ice cream yesterday. I don't eat ice cream that often, but I had a little butter pecan from Haagen-Dazs. I don't buy Ben & Jerry's. The F those commies part. Well, anyway, Ben & Jerry's has decided that they're going to continue their social activism regarding where they sell their ice cream. Now, this is fascinating because I read this article and I'm like, do they really narrow it down this much? Because apparently, Ben & Jerry's is no longer going to sell ice cream in certain parts of Israel. Not all of Israel, but just certain parts of Israel. But then in this article from the Daily Caller, just 3 years after partnering with an outspoken anti-Semite. Thank you so much. Our first sponsor of the day, Jim Beam with $3.99. I appreciate you very much. Thank you. No message on it, but that's cool. I appreciate you. But we got the old, what is that thing? We've only been, everyone who sees these super chats have been trying to figure out what that thing is. It looks like a pear with arms and legs, but it does have a cup of reparations coffee, just like your host here. So I like it. Thank you very much, Jim Beam, for sponsoring the show. So anyway, Ben & Jerry's won't sell ice cream in certain parts of Israel. Now, this is fascinating. Certain parts of Israel. Keep that in mind. Progressive ice cream brand Ben & Jerry's announced Monday they would stop selling ice cream in certain parts of Israel just 3 years after the brand defended their partnership with an outspoken anti-Semite. Now, that wasn't part of their announcement, but this is the Daily Caller putting the screws to them a little bit. We believe it is inconsistent with our values for Ben & Jerry's ice cream to be sold in the occupied Palestinian territory, or the OPT, the company said in a statement, noting they will not renew their licenses agreement with Israel, which expires at the end of the year. This is fascinating. Although Ben & Jerry's will no longer be sold in the OPT, we will stay in Israel through a different arrangement, the company continues. So this tells me a little bit that they're not serious about their activism. I mean, it's all Israel, right? So if you're not gonna sell it in just certain sections of Israel, what are you actually accomplishing? But anyway, the brand will no longer sell ice cream in the West Bank area and the East Jerusalem area, according to the Associated Press. Israel won the West Bank and East Jerusalem in 1967 during the Six-Day War. Some 700,000 Israeli citizens live in the two territories, according to the AP. Israel considers East Jerusalem as a part of the capital, but believes the West Bank is a disputed territory, according to the report. Members of the international community, however, claim both areas are occupied. Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett criticized the move as anti-Israel in a tweet. Look, what are you accomplishing, Ben & Jerry's? If you're really serious about your activism, just stop selling it in Israel. I'm sure there's plenty of other ice cream companies that are kosher that can sell Ben & Jerry or sell their ice cream in Israel. They don't really need you. I don't know. And only not selling it in one part of Israel, or in whatever the area, but still selling it there. Do they sell a lot of Ben & Jerry's in Israel? I don't know. Anyway, Ben & Jerry's decided to label itself as anti-Israel. Bennett tweeted, "This is ethically bereft decision, and I believe that it will come to be that is wrong from a business standpoint as well. The boycotting of Israel, an island democracy surrounded by terror, reflects a complete lack of proportions. The boycott will not work. We will fight it with everything we've got." So they're going to, I would just say, nah, just don't buy it. And that's what, now, former Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called on Israelis to stop buying the brand, which, don't insult them. Now we Israelis know which ice cream not to buy. Well, good. Just 3 years ago, the Vermont-based company partnered with outspoken anti-Semite Linda Sarsour, to promote an anti-Trump ice cream flavor. Does anyone know what that was called? Anyone know what the anti-Trump ice cream flavor was called? I don't know. In announcing the partnership with Sarsour and several other activists, the company said the plan was to promote those who are leading the resistance to the current administration's regressive agenda. Yeah, one in which you probably sold more ice cream than you are now. They're Ben & Jerry, but you're communists, so you don't care. And who are people who are continuing to resist oppression, harmful environmental practices, and injustices. Ben & Jerry's defended their work with Sarsour, noting the work she has done to promote women's rights is undeniably important. Yeah, well, she's anyway, she's anti-Semitic or whatever they say. So they say. Anyway, all right, moving on. Now this one is just one of those things that you can expect with the way things are going now. It was funny. By the way, I was looking at, this year's my 5th anniversary on YouTube, and I missed the actual anniversary. It was actually, I think it was April, February, March? It was March. It was 5 years ago. So I'll do an anniversary show one of these days, maybe. But 5 years ago this month was one of those question videos that I think I'm going to do a video for. The SJWs have questions for anti-SJWs or whatever. And the only reason I thought this up is because I was thinking about some of the things that people used to argue about on YouTube 5 years ago. And a lot of it was like the intersectional thing and how things are named and everything's offensive, basically. And so, the left is really good at language policing. And that was the thing, in fact, the critical race theory stuff is not necessarily coming from the intersectional feminism, but that all fits together. So when I saw this article, it just made me laugh because now we're renaming things that are offensive. Well, there's there's a species of carp that has somehow been brought over from areas of Asia, and they're devastating some rivers and places because they're very invasive. They multiply prolifically, and they just eat everything. They make it hard for indigenous species wherever these carp show up, and so they have some major programs in certain states where they're trying to get rid of these crazy carp, right? They're called Asian carp. And they're the ones have you ever seen the ones where like guys are in boats and all these fish are flying out of the water at them, and some of them have like shields with little spikes on them, and they catch them on the spikes. Anyway, they're called Asian carp. They're an invasive species. Well, we have a problem. Asian carp are being rebranded because tag is deemed racist.
That's racist!
The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service wants to avoid using the name that would paint Asians in a negative light. Gosh. Asian carp is getting a new name from wildlife agencies who think the title is offensive. But some critics say the move is a solution fishing for a problem. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service rebranded the freshwater fish wreaking havoc in the Midwest as, quote, invasive carp, end quote, in April. We wanted to move away from any terms that cast Asian culture and people in a negative light, Charlie Woolley, director of the Great Lakes Regional Office for the service, told the Associated Press. Minnesota long ago dropped the Asian carp label, which refers to 4 different species, and a group called the Asian Carp Regional Coordinating Committee plans to do the same beginning August 2nd. The news of the change drew some snarky responses on social media. Oh, really? I can't imagine. With some noting the name referred to the fact that the fish were brought to the U.S. from China for pond maintenance before they spread to rivers. Black coffee is next, said one Twitter user. Chinese food, Mexican food, white lies, brown sugar, calling ships her. 1980, Dungeons and Dragons is going to turn the kids into Satanists, another user said. 2021, Asian carp will turn the kids into racists.
That's racist!
Anyway, the name Asian carp said to cast Asian culture and people in a negative light, said another, quoting the news article before adding, among those who can't distinguish between people and fish. Minnesota had its own backlash when it changed the name in 2014. State Senator Fong Hodge said, I had more hate mail than you could shake a stick at, Hodge told the AP. He had decided the last straw before changing the name was when a group of visitors from Asia came to the Minneapolis airport and they were greeted by a PSA sign that read, kill Asian carp. The race-free rebrand isn't likely to settle the debate over what to call the different species. As a population control measure, the state of Illinois is planning a new name that will be appetizing for people selling and eating the fish, which is now mostly used as bait for pet food, or bait or pet food. So anyway, these carp, they jump out of the river, and especially when like a boat's going down the river, they're all flying out of the river in anticipation for these boats coming down. It's kind of crazy. Oh, commie carp. That's a good name. General So's carp. Okay, everyone's coming up with names for the Asian carp. The Communist Carp Party. Good. Oh, Asian carp is racist, but toxic whiteness is fine. Got it. Yes. Yes, it is. Oh, hi, Maddie. How you doing? Azul Azroth. Nice to see you. Asian carp can kill people and cause serious damage to boats, clog waterways like the Great Lakes. They were brought over here to combat algae blooms, I believe. There is no natural predator in the U.S. Yeah, they're brutally invasive, and they are, especially like I know that some rivers in Illinois, they're trying to figure out how to get rid of them. A new name will be unveiled soon and won't call to mind regular carp. A spokesman in the State Department of Natural Resources told the AP, it's a 4-letter word in this country. Assistant Fisheries Chief Kevin Irons said it wouldn't be the first food-based fish rebrand. The fish once known as the Patagonian toothfish is now on menus as Chilean sea bass. Well, you know what? I don't think we should call it Chilean sea bass anymore, because then people will think Chileans are delicious. We don't want that. We'd have a cannibalism epidemic of Chileans. Don't call it Chilean sea bass anymore. Anyway, another invasive species, the gypsy moth, also recently got a woke rebrand from the Entomological Society of America because his name is considered an ethnic slur by some Romanian people. Gypsy moth caterpillars were surging in upstate New York this year, leaving forests barren of leaves while raining poop into residential yards. Oh, well, thanks for sharing that, New York Post. And I just realized I never put the article on the screen. That's okay. Here, I'll show you some pictures of this. So that is that looks like one of the Asian carp. Here's when I'm jumping out of the river. Have you ever seen these? It's kind of crazy how they. Here, let me see if I can find a video here. I'm gonna find one on YouTube. Let's see if I wonder if YouTube still allows you to say the words Asian carp, though. Let's see. Asian carp. Jumping. Let's try this. Asian carp jump. Okay, here we go. Watch. Oh, this is CNN Business. This is from 11 years ago. From CNN. This is CNN. Hang on. Let's get this on the screen here. Here's the report from CNN. Okay, supposedly, here, it's fit it out here better. Why is my full screen messed up here? So this is, okay, wait, I don't want to see here they go. Watch this. This is going to be crazy. Watch this. Let's see if we can get out of here. Oh, these guys are on the boat. I want to find them where they're jumping, though. Let's see. Here we go.
I'm just having a hard time getting anybody. Wise, we handle over 20 million pounds.
Okay, hang on a second. I just want to see him jumping out of
the body weight, and they eat plankton. But this is a food source for 60 feet. We are able to.
Okay, this one doesn't work. I just want pictures of the Asian carp flying out of the river. Let's go back here. Here we go. It's crazy though how they jump out of the water. There we go.
This is what happens when a particular population of fish in the Illinois River is startled.
Yeah, right around back, behind the boat. Wow. Watch out. They're everywhere.
These are silver carp, the most notorious of the Asian carp family. Many believe the Illinois River has the densest population of silver carp in the nation.
That's kind of ground zero on this invasion.
Asian carp were introduced to the United States in the 1970s.
All right, so anyway, they jump out of the river at you, and they're kind of dangerous too. I've seen videos of a guy, they made shields that had spikes on them. They were trying to see if they could catch them jumping out of the river on the shields, and they impale themselves on the spikes. So pretty funny stuff. All right, let's finish up real quick here. I got a couple other things. For some reason, the Washington Examiner is really concerned about Meghan McCain, and I don't get it. It's Tiana Lowe has an opinion about Meghan McCain's haters broke the View for good. Now, let's analyze this without even getting into the article too much. Broke the View? The View, that show, the harpies that all the day drinking wine moms watch? It was broken before Meghan McCain even got there. But anyway, by the end of 2014, it was very easy to forget that The View didn't always cater to the day drinking housewife demographic. Brettes, how you doing? I hear they taste like chicken. No, they don't taste like chicken. They taste like carp. Have you ever eaten carp? Okay, wait a minute. All right, we're not going to read this thing about The View. Here's the last two articles. How Meghan McCain's haters broke The View for good. Okay, that's in the opinion in the Washington Examiner. And then there's an article in HuffPost, and I need to do some more research, but they're saying that the Texas Senate bill drops teaching requirement that the Ku Klux Klan was morally wrong. Now, I am curious because this is the HuffPost and they're leftist rag and whatnot, but I'm gonna leave that up and you can read it, and I'm just gonna go there. But and I'll leave the video on the Asian carp up there too. I'm gonna finish though because I want to tell you a really, 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 really good carp recipe because I you know me, I like to cook, I like to eat, and all that stuff, and so, and carp normally, not one of those fish that you normally think of eating and making it as a delicacy, but there are people who eat carp. But I do have a fantastic recipe for carp, and you can do it on the grill, okay? But you got to be very careful because you got to watch how you do this. But here's the recipe for carp, and this is how I'm going to end the show today. Just so if you're not sure, you can just pay attention and listen to this recipe. Real quick, I'm going to give this Gamer Verlaine, thank you so much. And the music hasn't popped up yet, but I'm going to read this anyway. For the $4.99 super chat, I appreciate that. Barracuda are fish missiles that have jumped on boats to attack people. Some were hospitalized. Yeah, barracudas are nasty fish too. But anyway, thank you very much. I appreciate you sponsoring the show. And thank you for people sponsoring the show. I really appreciate Jim Beam and Gamer Verlaine so far. All right, I got a carp recipe for you, and it's simple but complex. But if you are going to eat carp, this is the greatest recipe for carp ever. Yes, the recipe does involve a board because you got to use a board when you do certain type of fish. Now, and I recommend red oak board, right? You get a red oak board about, just about a little bit longer than the carp, and you set your grill to high. Now, when you do this, you got to make sure you don't put the board on the grill. You put it on the rack. There's a heating rack above the bill, like there's a warming rack. So you get a nice oak board, preferably red oak, okay? And you can find them. They're out there. You can get them in different cooking supply stores. You get a red oak board, right? And now you got to gut the fish, but you leave the scales on. It's important you leave the scales on because there's a certain steam function to leaving the scales on. You actually you take the meat from the fish from the inside. You put that on the board. You clean the fish real good, right? You clean the fish real good, and then you sprinkle it with a little paprika, a little garlic powder, a little onion powder, okay? And then you take some lemons, you cut those lemons up, you slice them, and you put them inside the fish, okay? You can do it head on or head off, but most people cut the head off and just leave the scales on because that's steaming quality. Get some nice lemon, you put a couple slices inside, and then you put some over the top. And then you take some drawn butter, right? And you kind of put it just over that, and then a little salt and pepper all over the top of that, right? Now, when you get that on there, and then you just set that on the board, and you make sure that a little extra butter inside, right? And you take that fish, and you get your grill, okay? And it works easier with the gas grill because you can control the temperature, right? And you take that board, okay? You put it on the rack, not directly on the grill, but on the warming rack. You got to get that grill to about 350, 400 degrees, right? And get it nice and there, and you put it in there for like 25 to 30 minutes, okay? 25 to 30 minutes, and you just let that let that heat up, and the board will get enough heat, and it gets a little of that red oak steam and flavor into it, and the heat, and kind of turns a little bit. The red oak may smoke a little bit. That's fine. You just don't want to burn that board. You got to get in there and okay. And then after 25 minutes, okay, you got to take that board and with the fish on it, and you got to get some. You got to get those gloves so you don't burn your hands. And you get it out and you set it out, and you got to let it rest. Okay, you can temp the fish, make sure it's up to at least 165 degrees. You let it rest, and when you let it rest for about 10 minutes or so, right? Okay, And then when after you let it rest, okay. Oh, you're not. Yeah, you know this recipe, Brent. I know. So you let it rest, okay. And then once it's rested for 10 minutes, you got to serve right away because that you don't want to let it rest. You don't want to get cold. But what you do is you take that board and you get a nice sharp knife, nice sharp chef's knife, right? And you take that board and you scrape that fish right off into the garbage and you eat the board because there is no good way to eat carp. I'm just telling you. That is terrible. So anyway, and on that note, ladies and gentlemen, please share this stream after that terrible joke. And before you go, make sure you hit the like button, share the stream. If you want to sponsor the show, you can do that through the means down below. Also, if you're watching on replay, please leave a comment in the comment section. And, there you go. Thanks, everybody. That's it for today. It is time for me to go. Make sure you join the Discord server. Make sure you subscribe if you're not already. Hit the notification bell to make sure you get notifications, or follow me on any of the social media at PDawgKnight, except for Instagram, where I am. Yes, that Marty. Everyone have a fantastic day. It's time for me to leave. My name is PDawgKnight, and I'm out of here. Happy fishing. Bye-bye. Hey, this is PDawgKnight, and thank you for watching today on the PDawgKnight channel. If you have an observation or remark you'd like to make about this video or my channel, I absolutely welcome you to write it in the comment section down below. I really look forward to hearing from you. And before you go, if you like what you saw but you're not already subscribed, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and definitely click that bell that pops up afterwards so you'll be notified when I post new videos or when we go live. I broadcast my live show, The Morning Night Live, Monday through Friday at 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central. A special thank you to all the supporters of this channel who share our videos on social media and who make donations through Streamlabs, YouTube, Venmo, and Cashapp, which are all linked in the description down below. Thanks again, and until next time, I'm PDawgKnight, and I'm out of here.